The year is 2026 and I'm somehow still playing every single gacha game. Of course, that's within reason. I'm not playing random gacha games with a player base of 500 people. However, StarSavior here is a game that has a decent sized fan base. I mean, you have some big creators out there making videos on these games, like Mr. Pokey, for example. So it's fair to say this game does have some credit to it. But as of recording this, today does mark exactly 1 month since the game released to the global market. So there's no better time really to give it a quick review of how I found it for the past month. I'll give you my TLDR. I've kind of stopped playing. There are a number of reasons for this. And let me tell you, 5 years ago, I probably would have still been playing this game. And by no means do I think this game is going to fail. But it's been long enough now that some of the appeal is just starting to fall away. And of course, there's other games to play. So let's quickly run through all the parts of the game, what I think about them, why I'm not playing anymore. First of all, AFK systems. I like them. I played AFK Journey for a good long while, and the AFK system never felt like a burden. I always had plenty of resources. Getting through the stages was very simple, assuming that you actually had the meta characters and knew how to use them, which they were all pretty easy to get. And I'd like to know that AFK Journey had PvP as well. And even as a free-to-play, I was able to compete at quite a high level in it. However, this is my first gripe with StarSavior. As a free-to-play, resources are just so far and few. I mean, in the early game, there are tons of them. But when you hit that first wall, you hit it hard. And it's not just the rewards that you actually get from the AFK funding, it's the stages themselves. Currently, I'm at 19-28. Now, there are going to be people who are way further than I am. There are going to be people who aren't as far as I am. But I've definitely put a good amount of time into this game to reach this point. If you've not done so yourself, you'll just have to trust me on that. Pretty much each of these red boss stages you can see, they come up every 3 stages. Almost every single one has required me to clear them on manual. Do I want to do that? Absolutely not, because there are far too many of them and they just cycle through the same bosses every few times. So yeah, I'd say my first and potentially biggest gripe with this game is that the AFK progression is just not fun. Let's jump into a stage and look at the combat itself though. The quick rundown, it's like pretty much every other turn-based game you've ever played. You have your ultimate skill, you have your secondary skill, and you have your basic attack. Is there much depth to the combat? No, not really. Is that a problem? No, not really. I don't really think 90% of gacha games out there have much depth to their combat, whether it's turn-based or open world. And do I think the animations look good? Yeah, sure I do. I'll show you one here. Pretty nice. And there you see my next biggest problem with this game. Bear in mind, this is just a random AFK farming stage. Not even one of the boss stages. Long and short of it is that the power scaling of the enemies is just ridiculous. And as a free-to-play, your progression slows down so much that anyone who spent money on the game, well, their growth for characters is just going to be way exponential to yours. Because they spend money to get stronger, and then because they're stronger, their AFK gives them way more resources than yours does. Let me add, I have no problem with whales. In fact, in PvP games, I quite like there to be whales, as long as there's a decently balanced way to compete against them. This is not that game. Anyway, my main DPS is dead now. We're not going to clear this stage, so I'm just going to back out. Now, I don't just want to be a Debbie Downer. Of course, I did just mention one good thing about the game, the animations. I think the animations look great, and I think the characters look great too. I mean, if I just click through some, you can have a look for yourself and see they are pretty good quality models. And of course, plenty of fan service in there for you too. I think my personal favourite is Roberta here. She just looks badass, and I don't think you can really deny that when her weapon is just her fists. But yeah, characters really do look good, and as a waifu collector, great game. So, other than the AFK stages, what else is your daily grind? Well, long and short of it is every day you're going to sign in, you're going to head over to the Candle Square, and these are sort of your material grinding stages. Here's the problem though. You know how in most gacha games, the number one thing you want to farm is equipment? Well, at the start of the game, they actually give you tons of these crates. Let's see if I've got some left over. All of these crates you see up here that say T1 or T2, they're equipment chests. And the T2 ones are the best equipment you can get in the game. Now, bearing in mind, I progressed quite far in the game. If we jump back over to the equipment farming stages, you can see there are still so many stages that I have not completed. So up to this point, I have never farmed equipment. Instead, what I do is I go over to exploration. You get 3 free clears of each of these stages a day. So you do each 3 of those. I then pump all of my stamina into this one here. I then shoot back over to this stage, head into Q Palace, and I pretty much max cleared this. If you want to be picky and point out that I haven't and I should have, fine. You do you. But the difference in resources just wasn't enough for me to actually care. I just stuck it on auto. But anyway, I auto clear that. I then head back over to here, head into Interstellar Corridor. It is currently the weekend whilst I'm recording this, so all 3 of these stages are unlocked for you. You get 3 clears a day. I mentioned this before, but I don't know why they do that, because your power is way greater than these stages. So they're kind of just holding you back for no real reason. Just realized that my head was covering them up. These are the stages I was on about. And the one at the top, Endless Corridor, that is the one you do have unlimited goes at. You can push that as far as you like. However, it's just the same as the AFK stages. And let me be honest, the fights are just not interesting enough for me to do them all over again. We would then jump into Flashpoint. I would jump into Void Ascent here. I would sweep this first stage 3 times. And at that point, I am done with everything at the Candle Square. But hey, there is more to do in a day. You've also got Gauntlet. This is the PvP. And I'd say this is a big focus of the game. And to be honest with you, it's quite fun. Or I would say that, except it's just run by whales. So your bread and butter for the daily is going to be the middle one here. This is your typical PvP where you set up a defensive team and you fight against other people's defensive teams. Most of the time, I just find a team that's weaker than I am, head in, press skip the battle, and hope that I win. Some people might say that I shouldn't do it that way because, again, you're just skipping content. But I don't really see why I would choose to do the NPC battles when, of course, we also have rank matches. Rank matches are fun. They have a draft system where you get to ban a character. You then take turns choosing 1 or 2 characters, and this is all done in real time against a real person. Well, unless you're at a very low rank, in which case they'll probably just put you up against bots to get you into the game. But generally speaking, against real people. Anyway, like I was saying, I do genuinely think the PvP is fun. The biggest issue is just that everyone's accounts are at such different levels because of the time that's required to be put into the game, because of the money that people are putting into the game. And really the biggest issue with ranked PvP is that because I don't have enough resources, I can't build a big enough roster to actually feel like I can take part properly. If I felt like the game gave me enough resources where I could fully build up 10 characters, then I'd probably be a lot happier. But currently, if my 5 or 6 bread and butter get taken away from me, I'm just screwed. So yeah, it's just another case really of the game mode being paywalled, which is a shame because it could be really fun. The last thing you'll probably do in your daily grind is you'll jump down here to the events tab, and anything on here that has a red dot, you'll click and you'll claim. Most of these are just quick collect events or advertisements for the current running banners, and 1 or 2 of them will be combat events, but generally the difficulty is so low, even for someone that hasn't spent money on the game, you just, again, go in, skip the battle, claim your rewards, that's it. I'd also like to make a quick note that the guild over here is probably the most pointless function in the game. Basically, you can come in, you can do some donations every single day. They don't really give you much currency. The currency you can use in the guild shop. However, what you can buy from the guild shop sucks. To put it simply, you can buy 10 of these a day, which is nothing. And then you can see I've already bought out all of the things that would actually help me build up my characters. Yeah, to be honest, I'm not really even the biggest fan of guilds in any game, but I do think they're quite important for the community, and they usually give really nice rewards that are quite easy to get to. So in other games, it's quite a big payoff because you contribute to the community, they give you back lots of free stuff. In this game, they just don't really give you anything. I'd say there are 2 other main things that I want to talk about. First, we'll go over the Journey system. Journey is your roguelike system similar to Uma Musume if you played that before. It comes in a easy, normal, and hard mode, and it is no joke that hard mode is a big step up. This game mode quickly reminded me of 2 other games that I dropped and exactly why I dropped them. Number 1, of course, is Uma Musume. For me, personally, the Journey system is not interesting enough and takes way too much time for me to commit to. I actually thought it was quite fun in the easy and normal stages, but oh my god, the amount of min-maxing you have to do in this thing to get small improvements, it's just not worth it. And then the other game it reminded me of was CZN, Chaos Zero Nightmare. Now, 2 completely different games. The only thing they share in common is that they're roguelikes and they're gacha games. CZN I genuinely appreciate as a roguelike game. I found it really fun, but honestly, I just didn't have enough time at the end of the day. I do not find the Uma Musume, the StarSavior, the whatever other game uses this journey system to be anywhere near as fun as CZN's roguelike. So if I was going to commit that time, I'd rather do it over there. Then lastly, we of course have the meat and potatoes of the game, the gacha itself. I'm going to say this plain and clear. I do not like the gacha system. I did not like this gacha system when I used it in Nikkei either. I'm not sure why I even fell for it, but I think the 4% rates reel you in and make you think, I can be the lucky one. It's just typical gambler's fallacy. You will never be the lucky one. There is no such thing as the lucky one. I mean, sure, as a human construct, you can say whoever got the best rates is the lucky one, but it doesn't actually exist. There is no cosmic force that is going to give you more luck than you have on a daily rate. But yeah, as I mentioned, there is a 4% chance for an SSR in this game. That is still a 50-50. 2% of that goes towards the rate up character. The rest, randoms. Now, I will give them some credit. They have really good rate up characters on here. For example, where is she? Ah, Ashura, Waltz of the Starlight. Best character in the game. We scroll down a bit further. Charlotte, Heart of Monaster. One of the best characters in the game. And again, Frey, Noble Princess. Also one of the best characters in the game. So it's not like just because you miss, it's the end of the world. However, bear in mind, those are 3 other characters I pointed out. There are a ton more characters on there. I've moved my head out the way so you can see my characters here on the right hand side. As I mentioned, Ashura is the best character in the game, and look, I've got 4 dupes of her. However, that's a little bit misleading, because we just had a rate up banner for her, and I pulled 3 of them through that. One of them, admittedly, was just a random off-banner pull. We like that. However, then you look at the next character down, Trish. I have 6 copies of Trish. 7 if you include the original. I am not going near Trish with a 10-foot pole. There is just no content that caters towards her kit. Oh, and then look, the next character down, Frey. I've got 4 dupes of her. Frey is arguably the worst healer in the game. Now, I will say that doesn't actually mean she's terrible. However, being the worst in the game still means a lot. Then I've got 3 dupes of a Pindle, also pretty bad. And then, to be completely fair, I do have 1 dupe into my Emily, the best tank in the game. I've got 1 dupe into my Charlotte, one of the best DPS in the game. But even though I have been lucky to get those extra dupes in those good characters, most of my pulls have still been pretty garbage. When I pull on Gacha, I want to feel excited when I get the character that I wanted. I feel like a Gacha system like this just makes you feel relieved. Now, I do think that's also because I am a free-to-play. However, my assumption was that whales just don't even get excitement out of the Gacha anymore anyway. I mean, you already know you're going to max dupe the character. There is no excitement in it. Sure, I guess you can save yourself some money if you get lots of early dupes, but you've just taken the fun out of it, really. But hey, I am just a humble free-to-play player. I have never whaled in my life. I don't know. I should mention on top of the characters, you also have their Arcana. Arcana also have a 4% rate, and to be honest, that's pretty good. Because you don't need a ton of them, but again, I would say if you're trying to maximize, you do need specific ones. I mean, it's no word of a lie to say that again, most of the Arcana I have pulled are not good. Heck, I've got 15 pulls. Why don't we just throw them into the banner now? See if we can pull this one. That's purple. That's no 5-star. Nothing to show. Let's do another one. 4% rates, right? Should be pretty good. Purple again. We did get faked out. And we did get the Arcana. That's kind of annoying, because I have not had that luck in the past. Anyway, do not let recency bias get in the way of what I was saying. I don't actually even know if that Arcana is good, but in the past I have had to go much further to get good things from this game. And I actually forgot to mention that there is no pity in this game. However, there is a currency exchange. You get this currency from pulling on any limited banner. So I do actually think that's really cool, because it's going to carry over to other banners, so I can just buy the next character if I want instead of having to pull for them. And if you pull enough on the character banner, you can just buy the Arcana for free as well. So if we're giving props where props are due, this is a good system. However, I would also like to see a pity system in the banner. Oh, and I almost forgot, there is technically a main story in this game. No one's playing it for that. I'm sorry if there is someone who's watching this video that does enjoy the story, but let's be real. No one's playing it for that. But yeah, I think that's pretty much everything that I wanted to mention. I really don't mean to be just a big doomer. Yes, I am English. We're very negative people. We love to complain. But I just wanted to give an honest review of how I was feeling about the game and why I'm probably not going to be playing it going forward. If you're enjoying this game, I'm genuinely happy for you. Keep playing it. Keep crushing it. I'm just going to keep waiting for the next turn-based game that snatches the market up, that I genuinely love. Fingers crossed they don't do a Honkai Star Rail, which for some reason I have decided to revisit. I honestly have never felt more anxious about revisiting a video game than Honkai Star Rail in my life. But we're going to give it a go. But yeah, StarSavior, I did have a lot of fun with it at the launch. I've had a lot of fun with it for the past month. I'd say over the past week, it has dropped off a bit for me. I think the paywall gap for free-to-play players is just a bit too large. The AFK stages become a bit too repetitive. The rank PvP is fun, but there's just not enough materials for me to actually build up my characters to properly take part. The daily farm is, yeah, a little bit monotonous, but quick. And I actually want my daily farm to be that way. Although the access they give you to things like the interstellar corridors and the equipment farming stages doesn't really make much sense to me. The guild system is pretty much pointless. I personally don't like the gacha system because it's just way too RNG for me. But to end it on a high note, the characters do look great. The devs do give you a lot of summon currency, and the journey game mode is really fun until you reach the painfully min-maxy endgame. So yeah, that's my review of StarSavior. If you enjoyed the video, like, subscribe, all that usual stuff. I've also just realized that my head was still on the left-hand side for a good chunk of this video, but hey, I'm sure that'll be fine. And lastly, if I did miss anything, genuinely, let me know in the comments. I'm not all-knowing, I'm not all-powerful, but this is just the way I'm feeling about the game. Anyway, have a good rest of your day. I'll see you guys next time.